Time is relentless. It does not wait for us to feel ready, to have all the answers, or to gather enough courage to take the next step. It moves forward, second by second, whether we act or not. And yet, so often we hesitate. We tell ourselves we'll start tomorrow, next week, or next year. We convince ourselves that we need more clarity, more confidence, or more confirmation before we begin. But the truth is, delay is the enemy of destiny. Every moment we spend waiting for the perfect time is a moment lost, one we will never get back. We live under the illusion that time is abundant, that we have endless tomorrows to step into the life God is calling us to. But deep down, we know that's not true. We've seen opportunities slip through our fingers because we waited too long. We've felt the sting of regret when we realized we should have started earlier. Maybe we've watched others move forward while we stood still, wondering what might have been if we had only dared to take that first step. Time does not pause, and if we are not careful, we will wake up one day and realize we have let too much of it pass us by. God has placed a calling on your life, a purpose that only you can fulfill, but He will not force you to step into it. He will nudge you, whisper to you, place opportunities in front of you, but the decision to move is yours. The longer you wait, the easier it becomes to stay stuck. The more you hesitate, the stronger fear's grip becomes. Fear thrives in delay. It feeds on indecision, grows stronger in stagnation, and convinces you that playing it safe is the best option. But God didn't call you to live a life of hesitation. He called you to walk boldly in faith. Think about the people who inspire you, the ones who are making an impact, fulfilling their purpose, living with passion. Do you think they had every detail figured out before they began? No. They stepped forward despite their uncertainty. They felt fear, but didn't let it stop them. They understood that waiting for the perfect time is a trap because the perfect time never comes. If you're waiting for a sign to move, this is it. If you're looking for confirmation, here it is. Time is running out, and the world needs what you have to offer. Maybe you've been waiting for more confidence, but confidence doesn't come before action. It comes from action. You won't feel ready until you start moving. God equips those who are willing, not those who sit back and wait for certainty. The only way to step into your calling is to take the first step, however small, and trust that God will meet you there. The Bible tells us in Ecclesiastes 11:04, whoever watches the wind will not plant. Whoever looks at the clouds will not reap. In other words, if you keep waiting for ideal conditions, you will never move forward. We often tell ourselves, I'll start when I have more time. But time isn't something we find, it's something we make. Life will always be busy. There will always be distractions, responsibilities, and reasons to put things off. But if you don't prioritize your calling now, when will you? 5 years from now, will you look back and be proud of the steps you took today? Or will you wish you had started sooner? The only way to change your future is to take action in the present. God is calling you to something greater. You don't have forever to answer. He is saying, trust me. Move forward, step out in faith. Don't let fear or procrastination hold you hostage. Don't waste another day waiting for permission or clarity when you already know what you need to do. The clock keeps ticking whether you act or not. Your purpose is too important to keep putting off. The time is now. The question is, will you move? Every second is a gift. Every moment is an opportunity. You are here for a reason in this season, for such a time as this. Let today be the day you refuse to let time slip through your fingers. Let today be the day you say yes to the calling God has placed on your heart, because the clock doesn't pause, and neither should you. There is something deep inside each of us that longs for safety, for certainty, for the assurance that everything will work out before we take a risk. We crave comfort because it feels familiar, predictable, and secure. But the life God is calling you to will not be found in comfort. It will require you to step into the unknown, to embrace uncertainty, and to lean into fear rather than retreat from it. Growth and purpose are never found within the boundaries of what feels safe. If you want to step into the greater things God has planned for you, you must be willing to choose courage over comfort. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward in spite of it. It's acknowledging that fear will show up when you take a risk, when you say yes to something bigger than yourself, when you dare to believe that God's plans for you are greater than your own. Fear will whisper, what if you fail? What if you're not good enough? What if people judge you? But courage says, even if I fail, I will learn. Even if I'm not enough on my own, God is. Even if people judge me, my purpose is more important than their opinions. The choice is always there. Will you let fear dictate your future, or will you trust that God's calling is worth the risk? The Bible is full of stories of people who had every reason to stay in their comfort zones, but chose courage instead. Moses didn't feel qualified to lead, but he obeyed God anyway. Esther could have remained silent, but she risked her life to save her people. Peter stepped out of the boat and walked on water, not because he was fearless, but because he had faith. Their courage didn't come from their own strength. It came from trusting that God would be with them. And the same is true for you. The courage you need to step into your calling isn't something you have to manufacture on your own. It comes from knowing that God is walking with you every step of the way. We often think of comfort as the goal, but comfort is a trap. It keeps us small. It keeps us stuck in routines that no longer serve us. It convinces us that playing it safe is better than taking a leap of faith. But the truth is, nothing extraordinary happens in our comfort zones. Every dream, every calling, every step toward purpose requires discomfort. It requires a willingness to be stretched, to step into spaces where we don't have all the answers, and to trust that God will equip us as we go. Growth and ease do not coexist. You can choose to stay comfortable, or you can choose to grow. But you cannot do both. Think about the moments in your life when you felt most alive, most in tune with your purpose, most excited about what was ahead. Were those moments filled with comfort and predictability? Or were they moments when you took a risk, when you said yes to something that scared you, when you pushed past your fear and stepped into something bigger? The moments that define us are rarely the ones where we played it safe. They are the ones where we chose courage, even when it was hard. They are the moments when we decided that God's calling was worth more than our comfort. If you are waiting for fear to disappear before you move forward, you will be waiting forever. Fear doesn't leave before you take the first step. It leaves because you take the first step. The enemy wants to keep you trapped in hesitation, in doubt, in second-guessing yourself. He knows that as long as you stay comfortable, you won't fulfill the calling God has placed on your life. But when you choose courage, when you take that first step despite the fear, you break free from the chains that have held you back. You step into the life you were meant to live. God is calling you to something greater. It will require faith. It will require risk. It will require you to do things you never thought you could. But He has already given you everything you need. The only thing left is for you to decide, will you stay in the safety of comfort, or will you step into the unknown with courage? Will you settle for a life that feels familiar but unfulfilling, or will you trust that God has more for you? The choice is yours. But remember this, your purpose is waiting on the other side of fear. The world doesn't need more people who choose comfort over calling. It needs people who are willing to be brave, to step into their purpose, to trust God even when they are afraid. It needs people like you. So today, make the decision, choose courage. Step forward, trust that God will meet you there, because the life He has for you is too important to waste in the safety of comfort. There is something inside you that the world desperately needs, a gift, a calling, a purpose that was placed in you by God Himself. And yet so many of us spend our lives shrinking back, playing small, convincing ourselves that someone else is more qualified, more talented, or more worthy. We hide behind insecurity, fear, and self-doubt, thinking that if we stay in the background, we won't have to risk failure or rejection. But the truth is, when you hide your gifts, you are withholding something that God intended to bless others. Your gifts are not just for you, they are for the world. And it's time to stop hiding. Too often we let comparison rob us of our confidence. We scroll through social media, watch others succeed, and convince ourselves that we don't measure up. She's more talented, he's more experienced, they're already doing what I want to do, what's the point? But comparison is a distraction. It keeps you focused on what others are doing instead of what God is calling you to do. Your gifts don't have to look like anyone else's to be valuable. God didn't make a mistake when he created you. He placed specific gifts inside of you, knowing that there are people only you can reach, work only you can do, and a purpose that only you can fulfill. Hiding may feel safe, but it is not what you were created for. Playing small might protect you from criticism, but it will also keep you from making an impact. God didn't call you to be invisible. He called you to stand in the fullness of who he made you to be. In Matthew 5:14-16, Jesus says, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden." Your gifts are meant to shine. They are meant to inspire, to serve, to uplift, and to glorify God. But if you keep them buried under fear and insecurity, they will never accomplish what they were meant to. Some of us are waiting for permission to step into our gifts, but the truth is God already gave it to us. He has already placed everything we need inside of us, but he won't force us to use our gifts. That's our decision. If we keep waiting until we feel ready, we'll never move. Readiness isn't a feeling, it's a choice. And if you've been waiting for a sign to step out in faith, to use your gifts, to pursue what God has placed on your heart, this is it. It's time. The world is waiting. Maybe you've been telling yourself that what you have to offer isn't important enough, that your gift isn't big enough to make a difference. But don't underestimate what God can do through you. A single act of kindness, a word of encouragement, a song, a book, a business, a ministry, whatever your gift is, it has the power to change lives. Not because of how big it looks, but because God is the one behind it. The size of the gift doesn't matter. What matters is your obedience in using it. If you give God your willingness, he will take care of the rest. Fear will try to convince you that using your gifts is too risky. It will tell you that if you put yourself out there, you might fail. And honestly, you might. But failure is not the end. It's part of the process. Every person who has ever done something meaningful has faced setbacks. The difference is they didn't let failure define them. They kept going, and so must you. God's calling on your life is too important to let fear dictate your decision. If he has given you a gift, he intends for you to use it, and he will give you the strength, the wisdom, and the opportunities you need along the way. Think about what's at stake. There are people out there who need what you have to offer. Someone needs your words. Someone needs your leadership. Someone needs the creativity, wisdom, and passion that only you can bring. If you keep hiding, those people may never receive what God wanted to give them through you. It's not just about you. It's about the lives you are meant to impact. You are part of something bigger than yourself. And when you step out in faith and use your gifts, you are stepping into the purpose God designed for you. So stop waiting, stop doubting, stop believing the lie that you are not enough. You are enough because God is enough, and he is the one who gave you your gifts in the first place. It's time to step out of the shadows. It's time to trust that what's inside you is valuable. It's time to stop hiding and start walking boldly in your calling. because the world needs what you have to give. And God is calling you to something greater than you ever imagined. Faith is more than just a feeling. It's more than words, more than prayers, more than good intentions. Faith is action. It's movement. It's stepping out even when we don't have all the answers, even when the path ahead is unclear. Too many of us say we have faith, but we live as if we're waiting for a guarantee before we take the first step. We pray for direction, but hesitate when God gives it. We believe in his promises, yet we stay stuck in the same place, afraid to act. But faith without movement isn't faith. It's just wishful thinking. Throughout the Bible, we see that God responds to action. When the Israelites stood before the Red Sea, it didn't part while they stood there, hoping. It parted when Moses raised his staff and stepped forward. When Peter saw Jesus walking on water, he didn't stay in the boat and wait for proof that he wouldn't sink. He stepped out. When the woman with the issue of blood wanted healing, she didn't sit in her house and pray that Jesus would come to her. She moved through the crowd and reached out to touch him. Time and time again, miracles happened when people took action. Faith is not passive. It requires movement. Many of us hesitate because we're waiting for the perfect conditions. We think, I'll step out when I have more money, more clarity, more confidence. But Ecclesiastes 11:04 warns us, whoever watches the wind will not plant. Whoever looks at the clouds will not reap. If you're waiting for everything to be just right before you move, you'll be waiting forever. There will always be uncertainty. There will always be risk. That's what makes faith faith. It means stepping out even when you don't have all the details, trusting that God will provide as you go. Faith is like a muscle. It grows when you use it. The more you step out in faith, the stronger your trust in God becomes. But if you stay in the same place, always waiting, always hesitating, your faith will weaken. God calls us to be people of movement, not stagnation. James 2:17 tells us faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. That means belief alone isn't enough. You can believe that God has a plan for your life, but if you never step into it, you won't see it come to pass. You can believe that he will open doors, but if you never knock, how will you walk through them? Faith must be followed by action. Fear often disguises itself as wisdom. We tell ourselves we're just being cautious, just waiting for more confirmation. But deep down, it's not wisdom holding us back. It's fear. Fear of failure, fear of what people will think, fear of stepping into the unknown. But faith and fear cannot coexist. At some point, you have to choose. Will you let fear dictate your steps? Or will you trust God enough to move forward? God does not call us to a life of hesitation. He calls us to walk boldly, even when we don't know what's ahead. Maybe you've been praying for something, a breakthrough, a new opportunity, a calling that's been stirring in your heart. And maybe God has already given you the answer, but it requires you to move. It requires you to apply, to speak up, to take a risk, to step into the unknown. And maybe you've been afraid to do it. But here's the truth. God will not do for you what he has given you the ability to do for yourself. He will open doors, but you have to walk through them. He will provide, but you have to trust him enough to take the first step. We serve a God of movement. From the very beginning, he has been calling people to step out in faith. Abraham left his home without knowing where he was going. David ran toward Goliath when others ran away. The disciples dropped everything to follow Jesus. Not one of them had all the answers before they moved, but they trusted the one who called them. And because they stepped out, they saw God do the impossible. The same is true for you. If you move, God will meet you there. If you take the step, he will provide. But you have to go first. So what is God calling you to do? What is the step you've been avoiding? Maybe it's starting that ministry, writing that book, having that conversation, applying for that job, stepping into leadership, or leaving something behind that no longer serves you. Whatever it is, don't just believe, move. Faith is not about having all the answers. It's about trusting that God does. And if you take the first step, He will take care of the rest, because faith means moving, not just believing. There is a lie that too many of us believe, the lie that we have missed our chance, that too much time has passed, that it's too late to step into what God has called us to do. Maybe you've looked at your life and thought, I should have started earlier. I should have taken that opportunity. I should have obeyed when God first spoke. Regret can weigh heavy on our hearts, making us feel like the best is behind us. But here's the truth. With God, it is never too late. He is a God of second chances, of new beginnings, of making things beautiful in his perfect timing. But while it's never too late, we must also remember that time is not unlimited. Life moves quickly. Days turn into months, months into years, and before we know it, we are looking back, wondering where the time went. The enemy wants nothing more than for you to keep putting off what God has placed in your heart. Start tomorrow, wait for a better season, maybe next year. But procrastination is the silent thief of purpose. It convinces us that we have all the time in the world while quietly stealing the opportunities right in front of us. Think about the things you have been delaying. Maybe it's answering a call God placed on your life. Maybe it's repairing a broken relationship, forgiving someone who hurt you, or stepping into a new chapter that feels uncertain. Whatever it is, ask yourself this: what am I waiting for? Fear, comfort, the right time? The truth is, there will never be a perfect time. There will always be a reason to wait. But at some point, waiting turns into wasting time, wasting opportunities, and sometimes even wasting a life that was meant for so much more. The Bible is full of people who could have believed it was too late for them. Moses was 80 years old when God called him to lead Israel out of Egypt. Sarah laughed at the idea of having a child in her old age, yet she gave birth to Isaac. Peter denied Jesus 3 times and could have let his failure define him, but instead he stepped into his calling and became a pillar of the early church. Their stories remind us that no matter how much time has passed, no matter how many mistakes we have made, God is still in the business of using people who are willing to say yes, no matter how late they think they are. But while God's grace means it's never too late, it also doesn't mean we should keep putting things off. The rich man in Luke 16 begged for another chance after his life ended, but it was too late. The 5 foolish virgins in Matthew 25 thought they had more time, but the door closed before they were ready. We don't like to think about it, but the reality is tomorrow is not promised. If God is calling you to something today, don't assume you can always do it later, because later is not guaranteed. How many dreams have died in the waiting? How many callings have gone unfulfilled because people assumed they had more time? The enemy doesn't have to destroy you to stop you. He just has to distract you. He just has to convince you that there's always another day, another season, another opportunity down the road. But what if the time is now? What if the opportunity in front of you is the one God has been preparing you for all along? What if this moment right now is the moment where everything changes? You may have wasted time, but you don't have to waste any more. You may have ignored the call before, but today you can answer it. You may have let fear hold you back, but you don't have to let it hold you back another day. No matter how much time has passed, God can redeem it. No matter how many mistakes you've made, God can use them. No matter how far you've wandered, God is still calling you home. But you have to make the choice. You have to decide that today, not someday, is the day you step into what God has for you. So what is the thing you've been putting off? What is the calling you've ignored? What is the dream you thought was dead? It's not too late. God's plans for you are still alive. His purpose for you is still unfolding, and his grace is still more than enough. But don't wait until it is too late. Don't let another day pass in hesitation, in fear, in waiting for a perfect moment that will never come. The time is now. Step forward in faith, because while it's never too late, you don't want to wait until it is.